presence of AI, generating content has become easy and instant. We'll discuss and dissect manipulated videos of celebrities, politicians, and known business leaders using an AI app called Deepfake. Good morning, I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno, and you're tuned in at the Forefront. Fake AI-generated videos that bombard social media have become potent bait for get-rich-quick online scams. One victim of online identity is John Arcilla, best known for his iconic role as General Luna. What must be done to stop manipulators from exploiting the faces and voices of real people? Here are two people instrumental in shaping policies and regulations in the digital space. With us this morning is the former representative of Bataan who proposed for a digital council, Congresswoman Geraldine Roman. Good morning, Cong Geraldine.
Magandang umaga, Attorney.
Good morning. We also have the former DICT undersecretary, Jeffrey Ian D. Good morning, Yusek Ian.
Magandang umaga, Attorney Karen.
So let's start first. This was very recent. John Arcilla complained that there were deepfakes circulating for videos that were previously his. One is his online campaign against fires, and then there's one where he had a TikTok video on piracy. But then those videos of him were used to generate deepfakes of himself, but with different content. In this case, we have several laws in the Philippines on cyber libel, if let's say something is damaging, that destroys your reputation. But we also have the Cybercrime Prevention Act on identity theft for Section 4. We have unjust vexation under revised penal code, but also civil code liabilities. But what really is something that can be used, that you can file in these cases, like for example, kay John Arcilla?
Well, Attorney, sa nakaraang Kongreso, nagkaroon po kami ng investigation in aid of legislation. No? Pinag-uusapan namin dyan yung topic of fake news. At napag-usapan din namin yung tinatawag na artificial intelligence. Para sa kaalaman ng ating mga viewers, artificial intelligence ay isang teknolohiya that per se, hindi naman ito masama. Napakaraming mabuting application. Ginagamit ito sa pamahalaan, sa planning, sa disaster resilience. Ginagamit din ito sa ating creative industries. At sa mga businesses po, ginagamit din ng artificial intelligence para makadisenyo ng magagandang advertising campaigns. Ano? So maraming positibong application ito. Malungkot nga lang kapag nagagamit ang artificial intelligence, kasama na rin dyan ang deepfake sa mga scams. Katulad ng sinasabi niyo, Attorney, yung identity theft. Pero ang tuklasan namin sa nakarang investigation namin is mayroong kakulangan ng mga batas. Ang ating mga batas, like the Cyber Libel Act of 2012, does not really address. Kasi nung panahon na yan, ay wala naman talagang masasabi yung artificial intelligence. It was a technology na hindi pa natin lubos na intindihan. But nowadays, faced with the different problems, katulad ng nangyari kay Mr. John Arcilla, ay meron talagang necessity to legislate something about artificial intelligence and its proper use. Kaya nga lang, dapat may caution pagdating sa regulation, Attorney.
And later, let's talk about what you're proposing, like this digital council. But Yusek Ian, based on the laws that we have right now, pagka dati humihingi ng tulong, for example, sa DICT for anything that's done online to harm other individuals, ano yung nagagamit na batas so far para makapag-file ng reklamo?
When it comes to AI, there are two things. No? Directly to the person that was involved, no? You can file either. Usually, ang fina-file is cyber libel case, specifically if it was an attack to another person. But the problem there is that for cyber libel, there should be usually politicians. Yung mga nagiging biktima. No? Pero ang titingnan mo, yung nagpa-file, paano naging impactful sa kanya, paano naging negative sa kanya yung statement na yan. So that will require someone who will rise and say, no, that I was vexed by this or ako yung biktima nito.
At saka mahabang proseso.
Mahabang
yan.
proseso yun.
Mahabang
yung sa
proseso
cyberbullying.
at magastos din. dahil
Judicial
may
process.
And if yung gumawa ng content na sa US, hindi ko na babanggitin pero maraming kaso ganyan. Hindi tayo makapag-file ng mutual legal assistance. Yung MLAT natin because in the US, libel is not a crime. It's only a civil
it's
case.
a civil liability
It's a civil
only,
liability. Yung second naman, civil liability, mas mahirap yun. Kasi it will require two people sitting together and then saying, oh, meron kang damage sa akin. Gano'ng kalaki yung damage, etc. That's really, really more tedious a process. Pero what we would focus on usually is the social media platform. Dito naman, pwede mong atakihan using Data Privacy Act. Sabihin mo na, oh, maliwanag na itong taong ito, the person's face was used and was processed using your platform and in compliance with data privacy, you should take it down. Otherwise, kasi nag-complain na yung may-ari ng mukha eh. Who better can say it's not me than the owner of the face?
Yeah.
Right?
But you know, Ian, that's tricky rin because I've had a personal experience of mine, hindi deepfake, pero pictures ko ginamit at nag-create ng Facebook account. And then, pagka let's say, nakasakay akong car, na picture, then merong nakasulat pa that my earnings from parang ano siya type ng Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. So my earnings bought me this car. So clearly, misrepresentation. Pero hindi ko masasabing deepfake kasi totoong pictures ko naman. But I suppose in that case, it's identity theft under
and it's still
the Cybercrime
misinformation. That's number one, it's still misinformation. And second, they're still using your personally identifiable information improperly. They're processing your information improperly.
In violation
of the Data Privacy Act.
Yeah.
So yun, usually that's the strongest, as a government, that's the strongest we can use for the platform to take it down, but not to imprison
or,
the content creator. Kasi the content creators usually, ang excuse nila, we're not the origin.
Yeah, that's true. And it's just a
Even though it's
platform
true,
where they allow...
Even though they're lying, their usual defense is that, oh, but I only picked it up from someone else, from another content
Oh, yung mga
creator.
nag-post, you mean?
That's correct.
Yeah. So, in this case, I think we're all in agreement that there's really still a gap in the laws or the laws that we have. So, Kong Geraldine, may nag-file na ba ng any House bill?
Attorney, ang problema rin sa ating mga batas, ang redress system o yung pamamaraan upang maitama yung maling nang gawa ay mahaba. It has to undergo a judicial process. The damage shall have already been done kapag dumaan pa tayo sa judicial process. Dapat yung redress system natin is something instantaneous, not necessarily instantaneous, but at least quick and fast.
Yes, and convenient, Kong Geraldine. Because imagine mo naman kung nagtatrabaho ka, you're gonna have to take time off from work to go to the prosecutor's office, for example, to file a complaint para makapagdemanda. So,
Katulad nung kaso mo, paninirang puri yun. Sinabi na meron kang ganitong mga earnings, nag-engage ka sa cryptocurrencies, etc., etc. That's obviously form of malinformation. For what intention, we don't know. If you have to file a case citing yung Cyber Libel Act natin, gaano katagal yun? Then nagsispread mientras ang fake news na yan. So, gumagrabe at gumagrabe.
Yeah.
It's snowballing. So, kailangan talaga natin ng isang redress system that will involve the sector itself. Sino ba nagko-control nitong mga fake news na ito? Sino ba nagpapapasok? Ano bang platform na papalaganap yung mga pieces of fake news niyan? Diba ang mga social media platforms? Maaring dun tayo pumasok pagdating sa regulation. We have to regulate, as I proposed in the 19th Congress, the social media platforms, but not the content creators themselves. And definitely, that form of regulation, hindi po pwedeng sa pagtatatag ng isang ahensya ng pamahalaan that will act as a watchdog for content creation because, sabi ko rin, mahalaga ang ating freedom of expression. And of course, it is a constitutional right. Hindi yan papasa at hindi uubra yan sa Supreme Court pag nagtatag tayo ng isang government watchdog eh. So, yung aking proposal na.
So, you mean as a regulating body, this will not come from the government?
The law should regulate social media platforms. Sasabihin natin sa mga social media platforms, kapag merong isang fake news, dapat i-take down nyo yan. Now, the question is, who will determine what's fake news or not?
Yeah, paano nga?
O, dapat meron tayong isang body katulad ng Kapisanan mga Broadcaster ng Pilipinas na nagre-regulate ng ating mga mamamahayag. Pero sa content creation, nagtatagpo kamakailan ang industry na mga content creators, mga digital advertisers, mga PR firms with representation from the DICT, representation from the academe, ng isang tinatawag nating Digital Media Standards Coalition. Meron silang sariling code of ethics and standards, meron silang fact-checking function, and this is the body that could actually make the official fact-checking na magtatatag na magsasabi kung isang piece of content ay fake o hindi. And then, maaring bahagi ng ating regulation ng social media platforms is adherence to the findings of the Digital Media Standards Coalition. Kasi ayoko yung government ang magfa-fact check, attorney.
Yeah, because usually merong gray areas. Pag deepfake, at least madaling ma-fact check kung siya ba talaga or hindi or generated yung ng AI. But then, when it comes to fake news, I think that's very controversial. And Yusek Ian, based on your experience, ano yung profile ng mga nabibiktima normally?
Attorney, first I would like to thank the 19th Congress.
Yes.
Of course, Representative Geraldine Roman. We were discussing sa TRICOM. That's correct, no? Yung mag-add lang muna ako doon sa comment ni Representative Geraldine. What we need to do is regulate social media platforms. Kasi doon nagpo-proliferate, which will bridge me to your question. Doon nagpo-proliferate kasi prone tayo, hindi lang yung younger generations, pati yung elder generations. And us, middle age. Prone tayong tumingin sa social media, and then hindi na natin nakikita kung yung content was AI generated. And we were proposing, for example, that social media platforms should have a labeling scheme. Hindi naman natin pinagbabawalan eh. Sabihin mo lang. Sabihin mo na AI generated to, and therefore it might be misrepresentation or the information might be misrepresented. Ang prone dito, elderly, hindi nga yung mga bata. When you talk about the 28 below or the 30 below, hindi sila prone sa AI manipulation because they were born into it. They know that social media is there for fun. TikTok is there for fun. It's not for news. And the news, well, yung news is the level of education na. Some news are believable, some news are not. And they just use it for chismis, etc. But the elderly, remember the fake news about vaccines during COVID?
Yes.
Pati nanay ko naniwala doon. Hindi siya nagpa-vaccine, tatlong beses na siya tinamaan ng COVID. And that was, noong una hindi natin pinapansin eh. And then there was this fake news about the West Philippine Sea and about China and about the role of the armed forces, etc., etc. Nagkaroon na raw ng gera. If you remember that, may tumira ng araw na missile eh. The elderly are more prone, I'm talking about 60 years old, 60 years old and above, doon sa ganong news. And I would always receive reports of saying, totoo ba ito? Totoo bang nangyari na ito? And the most vulnerable are politicians. Ang inaatake talaga na ginagamit. And government officers. You know, the si BSP governor, nag-endorse na ng cryptocurrency, nag-endorse na ng mga kumpanya na hindi naman totoo, etc. These are examples of the fake news being proliferated. Using.
Since you're discussing that, Yusek Ian, yung maraming mga, yun nga, sinabi mo na this time BSP governor, but including the president himself,
yes,
was a victim
times
of fake news. So we can look at the different victims of fake news recently, or fake videos, sorry. We have President Bongbong Marcos, one using drugs. Have you been able to verify if that was deepfake?
Yeah.
The Polvoron video, yes.
Yes, the Polvoron video. Para sa kaalaman ng ating mga manonood, this is a video that was spread, shortly after before the SONA of last year, So pinapakita dito na supposedly gumagamit ng bawal na gamot ang ating Pangulo. Doon sa TRICOM, we were able to discover na ito ay parang merong political motivation. At may umamin actually na isang resource person na pinagplanuhan talaga nila ito gamitin laban sa Pangulo. So meron siyang affidavit, yung si Pebbles ang pangalan niya. Siya yung parang naging whistleblower nung grupo na naggawa nitong fake video na to. So isa na yan. And of course, mga kasamahan ko dati sa TRICOM, mga nabiktima rin ng mga fake news, yun nga masakit pag ikaw ay bahagi ng pamahalaan. Of course, tanggap na namin na we are open to criticism. Pero sabi ko nga, kung kami ay pupunahin, dapat nakabase sa katotohanan, based on facts. Kahit ang mga opinion dapat natin ay nakabase sa mga facts. We can come up with our opinions, but we cannot invent our facts.
Yeah, and Kong Geraldine, yung fake video or yung polvoron video ni ni President Bongbong Marcos, was this verified as AI generated?
Yes, it was verified as AI generated. And of course, yung nagsalaysay ng circumstances surrounding that video, parang very, very credible naman. And of course, we leave it up to the DOJ kung kakasuhan ang mga taong nasa likod nitong video na to.
But the President filed any complaint? Is he interested
Hindi
in
No, he's
pursuing?
not.
Hindi
But yung sa President, I was still undersecretary then. We did a technical analysis of it. It was fake.
Fake talaga.
It really is fake. In fact, if you even use an amateur, so we used several, along with NBI, we used several tests. But if you use an amateur online testing like deepfake.ai, when you upload it there, sasabihin niya 90%.
So
AI
there's
generated.
already an app online that
That's
you
correct.
can use.
Yes.
So at least that's good for people to know. If you want to verify any type of video, so
Yes.
let's say you're watching an ad tapos meron nag-endorse ng, merong known personality that's endorsing, let's say, an investment, you can check.
You can check.
What's the name of this
Yung
app?
isang pinupuntahan na website is deepfake.ai. But you can just search for and Google for it. Marami namang online checking na libre. It's being offered to the public for free.
Yun na nga yung SEC attorney. Meron ngang mga applications, may teknolohiya na magagamit ng ating mga mamamayan upang i-check kung ang isang video ay fake o hindi. Pero kung yung mamamayan na yun, that individual does not have the desire or does not see the necessity to check or fact-check a video, that's a bigger problem.
Yeah.
That's why bahagi ng solusyon din na pinopropose namin pinopropose ng Digital Media Standards Coalition is a widespread information campaign on the responsible use of social media and critical thinking. At mula po sa TRICOM, nanawagan din kami sa DepEd na palawigin ng kanilang digital literacy courses na which are being carried out already sa senior high. But I think, my personal belief is dapat mas maaga ang pagbibigay ng kurso ng digital literacy.
How early, Kong
Ay, kahit
Geraldine?
elementary pa lang. Para handang-handa na ang ating mga future generation sa paglaganap ng fake news. Because the fact of the matter is, habang may mga taong unscrupulous, na mayroong masasamang mga balakin sa buhay, habang mayroong mga scammers na gustong kumita at manamantala ng ating mamamayan, we will have to live with fake news. And the only long-term solution that I see is an informed and educated citizenry.
What about Senator Ping Lacson's proposal? I think recently one of the bills that he's also trying to propose is one that would make social media, prohibiting social media for minors.
Well, to be honest, meron naman talagang rules. If you look at the community guidelines of Facebook and Instagram, they prohibit, I'm not sure, but I think 15 and below.
That's why they ask for your age
That's
when
why
you
they
create
ask
an
for your
account.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yun na.
Pero
So,
hindi lang siguro nasusunod or...
I'm sure because I prohibited my children. Then I found out that one of my child is only 11. But so meron naman talaga. It's a matter of ang pinagkakaiba lang is pag pumasa ang batas, magiging ano na siya, mala prohibited.
Yeah.
Ibig sabihin bawal na siya talaga. Ako, it's not about. I would agree with Representative Roman. I think it's more about education. Let's put it this way: in the 1980s, the use of calculator were banned sa grade school at sa high school. If you, I don't know.
Hindi ko maalala yun. Oo,
Banned
alam mo.
pa ang calculators. Kailangan i-manual mo siya. And then ngayon, baliktad. Pinabibili na tayong mga magulang ng calculators para sa mga anak natin. I think darating ang panahon, no, I don't think, I believe darating ang panahon na magiging ubiquitous siya. Which means that ngayon bawal ang paggamit ng AI sa school, pero darating panahon, gagamitin mo siya, but with certain controls. Like for example, dapat i-attribute mo. Sabihin mo, it came from ChatGPT, generated using this version, blah, blah, blah. And then second, kailangan mong i-verify yung information using old old style of research. Saan, sasabihin naman ng ChatGPT kung saan galing. Sasabihin, i-double check mo ngayon yung references. Para makita mo kung nagkaroon ba ng hallucination. Sa mga hindi nakikinig, hallucinations means nagkamali si AI. So, contrary to popular belief po, nagkakamali si AI. Ang mahirap lang, pag nagkamali siya, pag sinabi niya, with confidence. Diba?
Yeah.
Hindi mo halatang mali siya. No? That's why we call it hallucinations. So, I think education is key. I think we need to mandate ethical use of AI, even in, again, echoing what Representative Roman said, even in elementary. FYI, tayong mga nasa faculty, kasi I also teach sa AM.
Me also. And our school came out with guidelines, kami as professors, on how to also instruct our students how to use ChatGPT, and kami naman, in-educate on how to check for
using the
AI-generated
There's an app,
papers.
Turn It In, where you submit your essays, you submit your research work, and it tells
Will
you
say how to what percent,
much
right?
is-
how much was right or how
Yeah.
much was copied. So may copyright problems ka.
Sabi nga, meron na daw, pagdating sa pagbigay ng mga academic recognitions, yung mga Latin honors na tinatawag, magkakaroon na daw tayo ng 2 classifications, pre-AI and post-AI Latin honors. Sabi nila, less credible daw yung mga post-AI Latin honors sa mga pag nag-graduate. But in my humble opinion, dapat equally as valid. In the end, we have artificial intelligence. But really, artificial intelligence always has to depend on human intelligence. And it's how you use that information, how you process, how you synthesize and everything, that will matter. And will spell the difference.
Really, there's a paradigm shift now on one, ethical use, and then disclosing, and then being able to validate. Marami na bang mga biktima ngayon? Nakikita nyo ba yung, may stats ba kayo on seeing how much the victims of deepfake and fake news have grown over the years?
We don't have a stat. I don't have a stat right now, but when I left, I think I left the ICT just 2 months ago. The PNP was saying that there were 1,400, something like that, cases
Na nag-report
filed,
sa
na
kanila.
nag-report.
Yeah.
That involves scams of varying degrees. When we talk about online scams, hindi na to AI lang, but we're talking about sometimes nanghihingi ng pera pero hindi pala siya yun. So it was an identity theft. A lot of this is all about transactions online na hingi ng pera. And some of these are videos na na-scam sila. They thought that it was a legitimate, legitimate investment.
Yeah.
Mahirap nga, attorney, kasi paano marereport ang mga kaso ng online scams when these behaviors are not typified as criminal. So there will never be proper reporting. Kaya mahalaga talaga na itong gantong mga practices ay typified as criminal already sa ilalim ng mga batas. Pero sa kasalukuyan, wala pa rin tayong batas na that will specifically identify these behavior as criminal. Nevertheless, yung pagre-report na yan, depende rin yan sa situation. Sabi nyo nga, it's related to one's awareness, one's education or access to internet, kung ikaw ay most probably mabibiktima o hindi. I remember, marami akong kakilalang mga OFW sa ibang bansa. And napag-usapan din namin sa TRICOM, no, na ang kanilang thinking was shaped into believing that nothing good was happening sa ating bansa, walang mabuting ginagawa ang ating pamahalaan because they are continuously bombarded. Alam nyo, pag itong ako ay nasa politika at gusto kong siraan ng isang pamahalaan, magagamit kong AI sa pamamagitan ng mga algorithms, ita-target ko lahat ng OFW. Kailangan, ito lang ang kanilang nare-receive ng mga reels
how
and
do you
everything.
even do that? If you're just, yung mga nagbo-bombard ba, is that something that comes from professional PR firms? Or if you're just an ordinary citizen, how can you do that? Like, target them using algorithms?
We explained that sa TRICOM. No? So, everything starts with a human. So, number one, alam mo dapat yung mga tags that can be used in order to proliferate this. Halimbawa lang, kunyari lang, you are targeting the armed forces. So ang gagawin mo, i-ride mo yung armed forces of the Philippines, AFP, DND, etc. sa mga tags. Tapos maglalagay ka ng ibang tags. And then may may social media meter. Makikita mo kung kumakalat na siya. It takes only 2 days. So usually may tinatawag kami anchor, which is isang meme, or na usually AI generated content, ano? And then from there, magtatag sila ng, minsan nga, Bureau of Fire, etc. tinatag nila, para lang mag-appear. So, human ang gumawa nun. And then from there, the social media platform will pick it up. Bots na yung magpapakalat. So,
Pag sinabi
hindi
mong
human na.
bots, that's because of the social media platform
Yes. Ano na yan,
itself.
mga fake accounts, etc. You will notice that these are accounts that were created only like a week ago, 2 days ago,
At walang
etc.
friends.
Walang friends. May friends siya, pero bots din. Yung
Bots
bots.
din, oo.
So dadami yon. In fact, you can try this, and the audience, don't trust us. The audience can try this. Look for a way na magbabayad ka lang via credit card para ipaabot niya ng 1,000 likes yung post mo. Meron kang makikita. I don't do that for my accounts because bots yun. Makakalata naman kung bots. Pero
okay.
you will be asked to pay what? 600 pesos?
Oh, maliit
300
lang,
pesos.
no? For especially if, let's say, you're fueling a PR campaign, then easily you can afford that.
Yes. And imagine, if this is a science that they can do, kasi kaming mga nasa IT, nakikita namin yan, you can actually get information from Facebook.
Yeah.
Imagine yung talagang milyon ang pera for PR.
Oo, yeah.
So they can really spread it.
So politically, I see that. But even if you're trying to proliferate an investment scam, because there have been investment scams that they use AI-generated content of Ramon Ang and Lance Gokongwei.
Yes.
So pag mga investment scams ba, do they pay mga social media platforms to also advertise there or para mag-appear yung mga, this is one of the advisory where meron ng fake video na naka-advertise yung cybercrime advisory ng government natin, ng CICC. So pag ganyan, who's also responsible for advertising? Is it why you want to regulate social media platforms?
Who's responsible? Depende yan. Meron mga small-time mambubudol na kaya nilang gamitin to. But they know this technology. They take advantage. It would be very difficult. Mahirap sabihin kung ito ay malaking organisasyon na mafia type o hindi. The important thing is that we identify at magreklamo ang taong bayang nabibiktima. But before even that, dapat our citizenry, ang ating mga mamayan would be able and they should be capable of distinguishing pag nakakita ng isang Ramon Ang na magsasabi na sa loob ng 30 araw ay kikita ng 400% ang perang ininvest mo, magduda ka na. At as a general rule, pag merong nanghihingi ng pera, whether via phone, marami nang bubudol dyan, o kahit dyan sa Facebook, naghihikayat na mag-invest ka, magduda ka na. Lahat ng get-rich-quick schemes, dapat pagdudahan natin. Now, ang dapat na solusyon, ang pag-regulate ng social media platforms para sa sila rin ang magbabantay at magtatanggal ng ganyang klaseng scam.
And practical question, ano ang palatandaan para malaman kung totoo or fake ang isang video? But before let's answer this question, let's take a short break. At the Forefront, we'll be right back. Welcome back at the Forefront. Kong Geraldine and Yusek Ian, ano ang palatandaan para malaman mo kung fake video ba?
Okay. So, medyo mahirap yung tanong, but I'll give you an example on what we did with the President's Polvoron video and why it was very, very clear na it was fake. So, number one, you look at kasi if you use a face app, yung face swap app, makikita mo yung mga sites dito naka-blur. And then if you put that in Photoshop, makikita mo iba yung colors. Ibig sabihin may pinalitan. Halimbawa pag zoom mo, ang colors na background niya is red. Pero pag zoom mo, may makikita kang iba-ibang mga colors pa. At saka usually, pag cheap, ang tawag namin dyan cheap fake. Parang gumamit ka ng app, tapos pinalitan mo lang yung mukha. mapapansin mo talaga biniblur nila to, tsaka yung bibig. Para pag gumalaw yung bibig, halatang okay naman, in sync, pero medyo malabo. No? So that's the first. Second, look for shadows. If it is real, halimbawa tayo ngayon sa studio, if it is real, there is a natural formation of shadow because of the direction of light. If that change immediately, halimbawa nandito yung shadow ko, biglang in one frame, nandito na.
May mga, hindi nila magawa yung shadow.
Hindi nila magawa yung
properly.
shadow.
Oo.
Kasi masyado ng meticulous
Mahirap,
yun.
yeah. Oo.
So, formations of shadows, yung differences in the pigmentation of the colors, medyo professional na yun kasi linalagay namin yan sa spectral analysis. At yung blurring. Mapapansin mo, blurred ito. Doon mo mahahalata na face swap ito. Yung face swap is in-app. Nagagamit ka ng isang video at isang photo, yung picture dun sa photo, ikakabit dun sa video.
Yeah.
So, ibang tao yung nasa likod.
Pero, Yusek Ian, you're saying that this was an actual video of someone probably using pulveron and then pinatong lang yung mukha ni President Bongbong Marcos. But, what about fake videos of AI actually talking na mukhang totoong tao? Kasi even si Senator Bato de la Rosa, remember he was tricked into thinking totoong video, yun yung in-interview na bata. Ito, we have it in the background. And actually ako, if someone didn't tell me na deepfake to, I would have thought na totoo because mukhang totoong tao eh. So, yan yung isa pang tricky kasi I'm not seeing blurriness around, but the whole person apparently is fake AI.
Well, ako, may simple lang ang rule na fina-follow ko. Verify before you share. Kaya nga lang, syempre, kung ang motibo mo ay siraan talagang isang gobyerno, isang ahensya, isang politiko, isang tao, you will also want to share this. Pero para sa ating ordinary na user ng Facebook or other social media platforms, my general rule is that number one, tanungin natin ang ating sarili lagi, totoo kaya ang sinasabi nito? Totoo ba na yung kine-claim nung nagsasalita? Ngayon, kung may pagdududa, we should take everything with a grain of salt. No? Pangalawa, pag mayroong humihingi ng pera, pag-usaping pera, na kung magduda ka na from the very start. Masakit talaga pag bulsa ang naapektuhan eh, di ba? So might as well practice due diligence, magtanong ka. And no serious investment company will actually use AI or FB or other social media platforms para manghikayat na mga investors o manghingi ng pera. Kung gusto mo, doon tayo sa ating mga traditional places where you want to invest money, no? Pero dapat lagi tayong magduda.
Nung nag-TRICOM hearings po kayo, I remember you had someone from Facebook as well that was there, Meta, right? Ano yung naging resolution? Meron ba tayong agreement or any type of whatever security protocols that was set? What happened?
What we discovered was, number one, walang uniform guidelines.
Correct.
Across all of the social media platforms. Mahirap kapag ang isang platform nagpa-practice ng certain guideline pero yung iba hindi. Yung isa less strict, yung isa mas lenient. So I think merong pag-uusap ang DICT at kaso that agreement was only good for the campaign period, when they would take down certain pieces of information. We want to look beyond campaign periods and politics in general. We want something uniform. And I believe the only solution would be actually to regulate the social media platforms. I mentioned dun sa TRICOM, dapat silang lahat merong physical presence. And for that to happen, dapat meron silang, mag-register sila as legal entities in our country. That way, they can also be subjected to our laws. Number two, dapat meron silang registry ng mga social media accounts. Ba't ka nga naman magpapapasok ng mga social media accounts na wala naman tao behind that account? Paano mo mapapanagot? How can you enforce or even implement your guidelines kung hindi naman taong kausap mo? Mahalaga yan. Number three, sang-ayon dun sa aking proposal, yung Digital Media Standards Coalition, dapat mag-cooperate sila. Kapag sabi ng Digital Media Standards Coalition, ay ito, fake news ito, dapat i-take down na nila ito. Wala nang usap-usap. Kasi nga, kung gagamitin natin ng ating mga kasalukuyang batas, katulad ng Cyber Libel Act of 2012, gaano katagal ang isang judicial process? Dadaan pa yan sa mga hukuman. And the damage shall be irreparable na.
And it's really fast when we're talking about online platforms. But how do we prevent being a country like China, for example, that restricts access to so many social media platforms?
Well, it's a very, very difficult question, Attorney Karen. And I don't envy the representatives ng Kamara at ng
Kasi
Senado.
mahirap ang trabaho nila.
Mahirap. I'll give you an example. Canada, it just passed a law saying that only legitimate news should be giving news in Facebook, etc., in Meta. So they regulated the platform. And you know what Meta did? Meta just did, because we can't do that because it's a lot of work for us. We'll just stop news in general. There will be no news
Wow.
in Canada, Meta, or
Wow.
Facebook, including Instagram. So, and they are...
So if you're trying to post something na may news on your social media platform, if you're in Canada, hindi mo magagawa
Hindi
yun
mo magagawa.
sa
Pati
any
legitimate
Meta.
news.
Oo, that's harsh.
That's
Blackout
hard.
ka
Oo,
agad.
But it was
mahirap.
not because of the law.
Yeah.
It's because Meta just said, I give up, you pass the law, we'll comply with you. We'll comply with that law. But it's too...
Cumbersome for
it's too
them.
cumbersome for
Yeah.
us, so we'll just no news. Period.
Understandable naman. That's why I was thinking if, let's say, we're asking them to register in the Philippines, may mga tatamaan din ibang laws. Like, for example, our tax laws, like if you're a Philippine registered entity, then you're subject to certain types of taxes. So yung mga, parang for Congress, it's also a difficult job. You're gonna have to refine all the other laws to make sure that yung mga
Maaari.
unintended consequences
Yes.
hindi naman mangyari.
Mahalaga yan, and that's part of the legislative process. Everything has to be harmonized, no? Depending on the intent of a certain legislative proposal, no? Ako, dun sa ehemplo na sinight ni Yusek, no, sa Canada, of course we don't want that. And definitely we do not want to regulate what is content creation per se. Sabi ko nga, bilang mga mambabatas, mahalaga na kilalanin namin yung ating basic constitutional right to freedom of expression, which also we know is not absolute. Kaya nga kami nag-regulate mula sa legislative body ng mga pamamaraan to regulate this para maging responsable, hindi makakos ng damage o maging prejudicial sa ating mga mamamayan. Ano? So, sa pagpili ng form of regulation, meron ang jurisprudence or ang ating Supreme Court na establish na dapat ito ang least restrictive means. Para sa kaalaman ng ating mga manonood, hindi pa pwede yung direct government regulation over content creation. That would be an infringement of our freedom of speech. At ida-down ka agad yan ng Supreme Court as unconstitutional. So what's the point? So might as well regulate natin ang social media platform. Pwede naman, we'll fine-tune it, sabi nyo nga, attorney, para ma-harmonize sa ating ibang mga batas. At the dirty work, will they do that? That's why we have the Digital Media Standards Coalition. Let them do the fact-checking. Kasi sa aking paniniwala, fact-checking can be very tedious, very cumbersome, ika nga.
And subject to error as well.
Subject to error.
Yeah.
But if you have an industry-led group that enjoys the credibility because it's among peers, the best, the creme de la creme of the content creation world, of the digital world, I think yung kanilang findings will be taken as something na credible.
Yeah. But this time, let's also talk about the benefits or positive effects of AI. So for example, yung nag-viral na video ng Lola na adventurous, wala naman nasaktan doon, di ba? It's really entertainment. So ano yung mga positive applications of AI? Yeah.
Positive applications, madami. No? For example, just to give you an example, ako, when I read news, hindi na ako, sorry, ang haba eh. And you know, news now is personal. Dati kasi talaga kung ano lang sinubo sa'yo yung radyo at saka ng TV, you know. So ang gagawin mo, mamimili ka ngayon ng anong relevant sa'yo, okay? Tanggalin mo yung hindi relevant sa'yo. And then using AI, isa-summarize nyo yun for the day.
So, nagta-type ka ng keywords?
So, nag-ayos na ako sa Google ko, na Google News ko. Inayos ko na ano lang ang gusto kong type of news. Tinanggal ko yung sports, tinanggal ko yung entertainment. So, more on politics, more on what's happening in the US, more on economy, etc. And then, using AI, halimbawa, using the Alexa app, they can even do a video, an audio summary of it. That's only 4 minutes.
Wow.
Which is good for you
Oo,
while
audio
you're doing
to,
your...
So nakikinig ka lang.
Yes, while you're doing your coffee, ang tawag ni Alexa doon is daily flash. So even though titimpla ka ng kape mo, nakikinig ka lang doon sa favorite mong gusto mo lang makinig na news. Hindi, I'm sorry ha, wala naman akong pakialam kung nag-break si ganito. You know what I mean,
Ano
right?
talagang curated for you.
Curated for me.
AI can make life convenient.
Yeah.
And it makes what would normally take a long process. No? For example, give another positive application. I was in Germany recently, sponsored by the German government. Dun sa Hamburg, they use AI in everything. Planning for disaster management, even for traffic.
Yes.
It's
Naku, importante sa atin yan.
Traffic.
Traffic.
mahalaga yan.
Oo.
AI is also used to predict, in general, human behavior. And when you know how us human beings can behave, you can tailor-make and design a policy para mas maging responsive siya sa pangangailangan ng mga mamamayan. Pati nga dun sa kanilang flood control, nagagamit ang AI, no? Nagagamit din ito sa creative industries, no? If I were an owner of a company, I would definitely want to use AI para mas maging effective ang aking mga advertising campaigns, di ba? Napapansin nyo ba kapag kayo ay nagsasearch sa Google o kaya doon sa Facebook, yung isang araw nagsasearch ako, naghahanap ako ng pink ballerina shoes. O after a minute or two, bigla na lang ang daming pumapasok na mga
ads ng-
sapatos, mga ads, no?
Yeah.
So
But
that's an example of
It's still
AI.
useful, right? So kaysa maghanap ka na lang ng bibilihan endlessly, sayang yung oras mo, sila na yung nagsasabi, ito yung mga options mo. So, Kong Geraldine, you are proposing for a digital council who will, and when we talk about that, it will be regulating, but not from the government side. Parang hindi siya run strictly by the government.
Okay.
So who will be members of that council? But before we answer that question, we'll have to take a short break. At the forefront, we'll be right back. Welcome back at the forefront. Kong Geraldine, you are saying that this digital council is something that can be used to regulate content. Who do you envision as members of this council?
Actually, the council already exists. Galing to sa mismong sektor, no? So maraming mga asosasyon at organisasyon ng mga content creators ang kasama dito. Meron ding mga digital advertisers kasi malaking pera ang galawan dyan sa loob ng social media at saka content creation. Nariyan din ng mga PR firms. Nariyan din ng mga members of the academe, no? Na one time I attended a meeting of the Digital Media Standards Coalition. May mga deans of different schools of communication, ano? And of course, meron representation from the DICT as well as the PNP and the NBI for the investigation and everything. So, we do not mandate the creation of the Digital Media Standards Coalition. That would defeat the purpose. This should be an initiative coming from the sector itself at naganap naman po, na-form na po ito. What I'm saying is that mula sa pamahalaan, dapat may recognition nitong coalition na ito, nitong council na ito, para kapag nag-fact check siya at sinabi doon sa mga social media platforms, hey, itong content na to ay fake, by law, ang mga social media platforms would take down yung pieces of information in question. Now, itong pagfa-fact check na to, dapat may magreklamo. Hindi naman to motu proprio na magbabantay 24 hours.
Yeah, that's imposible rin yata yun.
And tinanong ko sila, meron ba kayong kakayahan para mag-fact check gano'ng kabilis? Meron daw. Nariyan din sa loob ng Digital Media Standards Coalition yung Global AI Council, Philippine chapter. So meron silang
They have the
karanasan.
tools.
Yeah, they have the tools. Mabilis yan. Sabi nga natin, mahalaga. Time is of the essence in combating fake news and combating scams. And yun na nga, sana tumalima ang mga social media platforms sa regulation na ito. Ngayon, wala ako ngayon sa 20th Congress, pero marami ako nakakausap na mga mambabatas who are willing to carry on the fight, ano? And they would like to take my bill filed in the 19th Congress as their model.
Yusek Ian, dun sa mga deepfake, sophisticated na ngayon, it's not just pictures or videos, but even voices. So,
Robocalls.
I've been warned that mag-ingat din sa mga scam, yung tatawagan ka ng family member or kaibigan mo para magpadala ng pera, pero yung boses pala, ginaya lang yung boses mo.
Correct, yes.
Paano mo naman ma-identify yon na kung fake?
Yeah, and that's very difficult to identify kasi kamukhang-kamukha talaga. Robocalls have been, wala pang nabibiktima ng malaki sa Pilipinas, but in worldwide, meron na nabiktima sa Hong Kong, may nabiktima na. And we're talking about millions of dollars. No? They're targeting usually, ang tawag namin whales, which means mga milyonaryo, bilyonaryo. Yun ang tinatarget nila. Ang tinatarget nila, boses ng bilyonaryo, pero ang inuutosan nila staff, admin, or kamag-anak, or whatever. Ang sa akin, it's not more about, it's not more about being able to distinguish it because it's different. Remember that our voice sounds differently when it's over the phone.
Yes.
Digital na siya eh. Pero alam ng tao kung ano yung boses mo sa phone versus right now, face-to-face. So, ang sa akin na lang is prohibition. Number one, never transact over the phone. I know it's difficult to do because some are legitimate. For example, my insurance company calls me up and tells me, we would like to welcome you in your new insurance policy, blah, blah, blah. My response had been always, thank you, just email me, I'll respond there. Or thank you, just tell me what to do, I have the app, I'll do it on the app. I never transact on the phone. Number two, if it was an emergency, set up. Again, ito na yung naalala niyo yung tawagan na budol-budol over the phone, PLDT landline pa. Pareho lang din ng tactics. Set up a code for families. Set up a code. A code that is like, hindi mahalata, like, what's the weather today, anak? And then our response is, I like fishing.
Okay.
You know, something like
yung
that.
Yung kayo lang magkakaintindihan.
Na kayo lang magkakaintindihan. And then, alam mo ngayon na yung kausap mo, anak mo. Or asawa mo. Kasi pag hindi siya sumagot accordingly, baka nga robocall yun. So yun yung, I'm sorry, yun yung madalas kong ina-advise. And never, bukod sa phone, don't transact using text. I trust my apps simply because I downloaded it myself. And then there's where I transact. Lalo kong pera. Pag pera nga, magbabayad na lang ako sa GCash, halimbawa, sari-sari store. Pagtapos kong i-encode yung number, pinapakita ko pa, di ba may lumalabas na pangalan, although hidden by asterisk, pinapakita ko pa, ma'am, sir, kayo po ba ito? Before I click pay. Pag sinabi niya yes, may. Kasi malay mo, baka in-stickeran yung nasa pader.
Oo nga, pati yung QR code, mapalitan. Yeah. Diba? But even now, I've been seeing some reports that yung mga screenshots ng payments, wag na raw pagkatiwalaan kasi kaya siyang ma-generate sa AI.
So,
Yung
sa pagde-deliver ng mga goods and everything, mga on-site transfers.
Yung mga payments, kaya na pala siyang gawin din.
Alam mo, ang safe, pinaka-safe na rule na we should all follow. Pag may kinalaman sa pera, magduda ka na, magduda ka pa,
yun
at
ang rule of thumb,
duda pa
duda
more.
agad.
Yes.
What about dating apps? Because ito, random story, I got a message from one of my friends who's based in the US but using a dating app. And then he told me, Karen, there's someone using your picture. I'm not even part of that dating app. So he said, but iba naman yung name, pero picture ko daw. So sabi niya, I already reported it because I don't think you can report, you're not part of the app. So anyway, but diba, like yung pati yun, I suppose may identity theft.
During the TRICOM, meron akong experience, you said, attorney. Meron nag-friend request sa akin sa FB. Sabi ko, I had this gut feeling. Sabi ko, I'll play along. Tapos nag-chat, alam niya, parang ni-research ang buhay ko sa Google, sa Wikipedia. Tapos, nila-love bomb ako.
Love bomb?
Oo,
ano ba
tapos
yan?
ako
Love
naman,
bomb?
sabi ko,
As in,
we will practice due diligence. Hingi ako ng picture. Tapos matagal bago magpadala ng picture. So, kinukuha niya yung identity ng ibang tao. I could tell, kasi yung katulad na sinasabi niyo, yung mga sagot hindi tumutugma, mga safe answers. Tapos, sabi ko, kailangan mag-visionate tayo. Deepfake. Nagsasalita yung tao, pero hindi tugma sa bibig. Tapos, ang kailangan, parang I had to, they follow a script, So, maraming nabibiktima. Usually, ang profile ng mga nabibiktima, mga middle-aged women na medyo lonely. So, marami. And actually, it ends up being a financial scam.
Correct.
Papaibigin ang isang tao, normally isang babaeng malungkot, na single o na byuda o nahiwalay, Tapos pag na-inlove na siya, hihinga na yan ng pera. Magpadala ka naman ng pera dito para mabisita kita. O nagka-problema kami na lahat ng dahilan ibibigay para magbigay ka ng pera. Pero sabi ko nga, kapag merong humingi ng pera, magduda ka na at duda pa more.
Okay, very good tips. Thank you so much. Thank you, Congresswoman Geraldine Roman and Yusek Ian. Very informative discussion today. And Yusek Ian, sorry, before we leave, saan pala pwede mag-report? So doon pa tayo sa mga
CICC.
mga nasa scam sa
CICC 13, just dial 1396. And then you can CICC with ASEC Aboy Paraiso. You can report anything that has to do with digital scams or digital fraud. Also, I would like to remind people yung campaign ng DICT noon pa, yung always check the Meta verified or Instagram verified. If you want to check at news like Bilyonaryo, I hope Bilyonaryo is already like Meta verified. So may blue check mark 'yon. Hindi ko sinasabing lahat na may blue check mark is kapani-paniwala, but at least meron ka ng first layer of defense na alam mo pag kaya mo siyang kasuhan because pag may blue check mark, ibig sabihin nag-submit ng ID. Nag-register na merong ID sa loob ng Meta or ng Instagram or ng TikTok. So
okay, and 1396 again is the number of CICC. Thank you again. Very helpful tips. Thank you, Yusek Ian and Congresswoman Geraldine. As the lines between truth and deception blur in digital age, the urgency to protect every Filipino from AI-generated fake videos has never been clearer. Collective vigilance and decisive action are the keys to safeguarding trust in our online spaces. The digital ball remains in our hands. We need to become responsible citizens and stand for truth in information and truth in advertising. Be timely informed, be insightful of the news. Always stay at the forefront. Join us again tomorrow for meaningful insights on issues that matter. This is Attorney Karen Jimeno. Thank you for spending your hour with us.